Hi there, Kerry here once again on the Christchurch Review of Books YouTube channel, and today just a brief little review of this book, One More Croissant for the Road by Felicity Cloake. Now, you may remember if you've been a regular viewer of the channel, I reviewed her most recent book, Red Sauce, Brown Sauce, about a month ago or so. I'd read that 6 or 7 weeks ago when I was recovering from COVID, and it was just the tonic that I needed at a very low point in my life. I really enjoyed the writing and the descriptions of food and travel and what have you. Now, this is her earlier book. It came out around 2019, 2020 for the paperback, and it's pretty much the same type of concept, but this, instead of traveling around the UK like she did in Red Sauce, this is her earlier trip around France, and she took off on this journey in 2018. Prior to that, she'd only gone on like brief trips to France now and then, and so she decided that she wanted to see the whole country and more importantly taste the foods from all the different regions, all the different famous dishes that the towns and cities are famous for. So she buys a new bike, names it Eddie, a green bike, and she sets off, and she travels on a ferry to Cherbourg, and from there she travels in a anti-clockwise route right round France, right down to the southern coast of France, Mediterranean Sea, and then back up along the German border, and then back inland again to Paris. Now, on the way, she stops at dozens of large towns, small towns, rural farmlets, whatever you like to call them, and she tries the local dishes, and she's at once pleased by the dishes and also surprised by some of the more famous ones that turn out to be quite bland and unexciting. And along the way, she learns all about the stories behind the foods, the legends and myths about who supposedly created these dishes, and most of the time they turn out to be either disputed or a complete fabric of lies. And there's a lot of humour, like in the later book. Perhaps it's a little more staid, a little more straight going, this book, rather than the irreverence of the later book. I still enjoyed it. She's got a great sense of humour and a sense of fun, and she doesn't take herself too seriously. The French come off at kind of a mixed bag. It kind of confirms and goes against stereotypes at the same time. There's all the stuff about the French being lazy or something, but they're on strike just about every second place she goes. And timetables for transport and restaurants and opening of shops can't be relied on. It's just, you kind of get a certain impression of the French like that, but then she turns it around, and the French people themselves are really generous and friendly, help her on the way. She arrives at a certain restaurant or campsite or whatever, and she thinks they've closed. Someone will inevitably come out and open things up, especially for her, and they'll give her a great hand, and they'll cheer her on her journey. So you see different sides of the French nation and people, some that you might not expect. And anyway, so after a bit, she travels around in like May, June of 2018, and she eventually ends up in Paris, where she basically ends her journey. Now, along the way, she's joined by friends and family of different people she knows in different towns, from her from work colleagues to people her father knew, to her own parents. And they inevitably either help or hinder her on her way, and she has quite a tough time on the journey. There's a lot of steep inclines in some parts of France, and she barely makes it up hills and is exhausted for the next day. She falls off her bike several times and injures herself, and the bike needs maintenance quite a few times. It's all part of the journey, and it's a lot of fun, a lot of enjoyment. So there's one more croissant for the road. It's if you dream of travel in France or the continent of Europe, and you enjoy food, it's probably a pretty good bet that you'll enjoy this book. Now, also, each chapter has these little breakout boxes where she explains an aspect of French culture or history or food. And also each chapter has like a recipe where you can try and recreate some of the foods that she has eaten on her journey. You can be pretty brave for some of these recipes. They seem incredibly complicated and full of ingredients you may not be able to get hold of where you are. And at the end of each chapter, similar to what she did in the later book. And this time around, she rates the croissants where she, in each town, each leg of the journey, out of 10, gives them a little review, and then she recounts how much mileage she made in that certain leg of the journey, and the highs and lows of each experience. So that is an excellent book to read if you're into food or France or travel. That is pretty much all I have to say today. We're racing towards the end of August 2022. We've had a few mild days, so it looks like spring may just be on its way if we're lucky. Of course, 30 years ago, we were thinking that, and we had the heaviest snow of my lifetime around this time of year. So who knows what's going to happen. I will see you again soon. So enjoy yourselves and have a good weekend.